If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Today's Thursday, February the 6th, and welcome to IGH Going Rogue. Guys, it has been an amazing past few weeks. I don't think anybody can be doing anything but smiling, maybe laughing at certain points, but definitely happy overall. We live in a very different world than we did a month ago. It is amazing, truly blessed to be living in this country and to have Donald Trump is our president again. Man, Pam, boom, Elon, Marco, you name it, everybody. It is fantastic. We have a guest today, former Navy JAG attorney in multiple cities in Washington, D.C., good guy, hardcore, ultra MAGA, one of the what was it? Despicables, disposables? What did Hillary Clinton call us? I can't remember. But there he is, Rod Widstadt, the man, the myth, the legend, all the way from Baltimore County, man, from the People's Republic of Maryland. How can you still live there? At least you got a black MAGA hat, pal.
Well, actually, this says this isn't the black MAGA, it's One Nation Under God.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I like the flat brim hat.
Yeah.
If I could get one from the president, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
a flat brim black MAGA hat.
Those black MAGA hats are cool as shit. Hey, Pam, dude, fuck.
Yeah,
she's fucking awesome, dude. She's awesome. And I know you had an opportunity to work with her as well in the 2020 thing. I did. So I know you like her a lot.
Very impressive woman.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
She certainly was. And what do you think about those two main things she did right out of the gates, right?
Well, you know what? First, let's talk about her confirmation hearing. I mean, she was calm, cool, and collected. She didn't let any of those senators get under her skin. She held herself with dignity and grace in there and proved that she is, the right person at the right time. And yes, first two acts out of the gate, she knocked the ball out of the park.
Yeah, man, and you know what? It's a good point that you bring up the hearings. We didn't talk about that on the air or anything. We purposely waited a little bit, to come back. Figured most of the people were going to be confirmed, but she was cool, but she was strong and she was firm, and she pushed back too. Right? She didn't take shit.
But it's interesting. I've come to learn over the years of watching these hearings. My friend, I've introduced you to him before, Dave Jonas. He went through the confirmation process the last time when he was nominated by the president to be general counsel for the Department of Energy. And it really is just a show. It's an opportunity for those senators to try to make talking points and, little political victories. There's rarely a question that's thrown at those people. It's really more, let me just get my little, my little words in.
My soundbite, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they can make it onto the nightly news. It's unfortunately, there's no substance at these hearings any longer.
Yeah,
it's a show.
Well, I think it all went down the crapper with the whole fucking Kavanaugh hearings. I mean, that was, fuck.
That was the worst. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I met Justice Kavanaugh many, many years ago. He was part of the Bush Gore recount process.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. But he's a good guy, man. I mean, shit, dude, come on. They pull up
He
shit
went.
that
He went
they
to.
pull
He
up
went
shit that
to.
people did at the fucking high school, dude. It's like, are you serious, dude?
Right.
It's
He
like,
went. Well, he went to high school with some people I know, and look, I was in that crowd. Now, look, I'm in Baltimore, not in Rockville, not in Montgomery County, but did our paths cross? Yes. And let me tell you something about the private school mentality when I was a kid,
yeah,
and how it is now here in Maryland.
yeah.
You mess around with one of our girlfriends, and we're going to kick your ass at a
That's
party.
right,
You
dude.
try to rape one of our girlfriends, we're going to kick your ass. That shit never happened.
That's right, dude. And it happened too. I mean, look, I grew up in Montgomery County and went to went to Churchill, and there was a lot of rivalry between us and Whitman and Wooten, and a lot of times ended up in big fucking fights.
Yeah, fights
Big
between
fucking
men,
fights.
but let's
Yeah.
say
But
you
nobody
were
took
at
a
a
gun.
party
Nobody
and
took a
somebody
knife,
tried to
dude.
mess with
You're,
one of your
oh
girls.
yeah, you
Right?
fucking show up at their house and beat the living shit out of them. Yeah.
It didn't happen. That's
No.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, it was all bullshit, dude. It was all bullshit.
Yeah.
But fucking Pam, dude. So tell us what Pam did.
Well, I think the biggest piece is the denial of grant money to the sanctuary cities.
So how does that work? Can
We're
she do that? Isn't that allocated by Congress or by somebody?
so, look, I haven't researched that fully, but we're talking about grant monies, and the attorney general probably has a pocketbook there. Okay, some spending authority in the cities, in the states where they can allocate resources. Like the U.S. attorney for the District of Maryland. I can't recall the gentleman's name right now, but he needs resources to conduct his operations. And if he's not going to cooperate and he's going to, put up a fight against ICE, then he's not going to have the resources from the DOJ. That's the way that's going to work.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, so it's a DOJ, it's a Department of Justice thing. It's not.
It's got to be. Look, they
Yeah,
didn't. The news doesn't get into it in any depth. They just report. But it has to do with money and resources.
but that's good, right? Because you get a piece of shit U.S. attorney like the clown you have up in Maryland, who's a total fucking piece of crap. That wanted to investigate who's the president, do all kinds of bullshit. That's a great example,
Well,
right?
all right. Let's get something straight. Okay, we've got the Attorney General of the state of Maryland, which is one person, and then there's
Oh,
the
that's right.
U.S.
That's right.
U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland, which is a federal. He's a
Correct.
federal law enforcement. He
Yeah.
is the chief federal law enforcement officer for the District of Maryland, whereas the Attorney General. Okay, that's an elected official here in the state of
That's
Maryland,
right.
and he has really nothing to do with the federal side. He's the state attorney general, and yes, he's the one who wants to talk about suing Trump. They did it the last administration, when there was some talk about him suing Trump. Even though we had a Republican governor, we had a Democrat
I
attorney
remember
general.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that.
so two different people.
Yeah. So what about the U.S. attorney now? Did they get rid of him?
I haven't seen any news reports of him. He was appointed, Rod Rosenstein, if you remember him from, Trump's first term. He was the United States Attorney for the District of Maryland, and when the whole thing blew up after Comey, they elevated Rod to basically the Deputy Attorney General because the Attorney General was conflicted out.
Yeah.
What was his name? The senator
Yeah,
from
the senator. I can't even
uh,
remember his fucking name.
who was it? The
That
senator.
recused himself.
Pardon me.
The senator that recused himself. There was Attorney General. I
Yeah,
can't remember
right.
his
So
name.
they put So Rosenstein left. The District of Maryland, went up to become basically the number two
Yep.
DOJ guy, and so when they had there was somebody holding that spot. Well, when Biden was elected, he nominated the current United States Attorney for the District of Maryland. That
So he's probably a
gentleman is
lefty.
he's a former delegate here in the state of Maryland. I don't know much about him, but I would think that he's probably going to be replaced. This whole replacement of U.S. attorneys uh, was a it was a really big deal years ago. I think it was when Obama took office. He basically replaced every one of George Bush's U.S. attorneys.
Yep.
Um, and then when when Trump took office the first time, he did not replace a lot of the U.S. attorneys in the various districts around the United States. So
That's
that person
crazy.
is a very powerful person here in whatever district it is. You hear about the Southern District of
Yep.
New York,
Yeah.
extremely powerful position.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I
Yeah.
hope he gets rid of all the lefties and all the commies, especially in the People's Republic of Maryland. It used to be such a great state, and now it's I'm sorry to say, man, just a communist wasteland.
Well, what it is, it's a bastion of tax and spend. I was telling you on the pre-call
Yep.
that there's two taxes that the current governor, Wes Moore, who's obviously setting his sight probably for a presidential run. He's an Obama type of guy. There's a lot of allegations about stolen valor. He apparently was wearing a Bronze Star without authorization to do so, and his excuse was that his commanding officer told him that he could wear it. That's just look. I was in the military. You don't wear any decorations until you're actually awarded it. So we'll let that one, sit. That'll come back up. But so on the tax issue, Governor Moore, he has proposed in the budget a tax. It's a delivery tax. So anyone in Maryland who's listening to this, and you have Amazon, UPS, FedEx, the United Postal Service, whoever delivering packages to your door, uh, he has proposed a 75 cents per package tax on each package that's dropped at your door. My wife, we probably have 3 or 4 packages dropped at the door a day. This is going to cost me probably a extra
$5 a
1,000,
day.
15,
Yeah.
in taxes. It's another tax. And then the other one is so a lot of people, when they buy a car, they buy a new car, they trade in their car, right? And you get a trade in allowance. So here in Maryland and probably most other states, the way the tax works is, let's say you were buying $100,000 motor vehicle
Yeah.
and your trade in value is $50,000. So the difference is that $50,000 that was taxed. That's what they call a registration fee. That $50,000 was taxed.
Yep.
Okay, so under his proposed new tax scheme, they would not give you that credit for that $50,000 trade-in. You would pay tax on that full $100,000 price tag.
Dude, that
So
fucking state is all about taxes. You remember that other dipshit O'Malley that had the rain tax?
the
Mr.
rain
Producer, I
tax,
just sent you a
yeah,
picture. If you can put that
and the
up.
flush tax. There was the flush tax as well.
With the what tax?
Right? There was another tax. It was called the flush tax, and it was for everyone who was on a septic system. That basically you were going to get charged for flushing your toilet.
Oh my God, bro. Yeah, Mr. Producer. See if you can put that picture up. This story, the one I was telling you before we got on the air, that Wes Moore is proposing a tax hike on income and on capital gains.
Of course.
Dude, how much
And here's
higher, dude? It's
another
insane,
good one.
dude.
So, senior citizens have a discounted fishing license in Maryland. I don't know what the cost is, but he's got a 240% increase on senior citizen fishing license fees.
Holy shit, dude. That's what people want to do when they're retired, right? Is go fishing,
Of
dude.
course. Of course.
Dude, that's crazy, dude. That's
Dude, all Democrats know how to do. They don't have any other ideas except tax and spend.
Yeah.
And speaking of spend, now we're seeing why our taxes are so damn high, because we're sending Big Bird over to Iraq.
yeah. And we're coming up with comic books with trans superheroes to push in third world countries, dude. What the fuck is that? Dude, did you hear the press secretary yesterday with a laundry list of shit? $26 million went to media companies. 20. Well, I'm not media companies.
Is that why
Politico,
you're so
right?
wealthy, Ivan?
Dude, if I would have known, bro, that USAID was giving out cash, man, I would have gone and knocked on the door of Uncle Joe or the big guy and cut a deal with him, man. Fucking A.
The big guy.
You know, we're scrounging for fucking pennies, you know, trying to fucking do that project. And meanwhile, Politico's getting $26 million. That's fucking ridiculous, dude. And $26 million is across the entire federal government. You know, USAID gave them $8.2 million. I mean, dude, that's fucking crazy.
So a buddy of mine sent me a list today of all the monies that were sent to, I think it's our 7th congressional district, which is Mfume's district, for all the, was it Lutheran or Episcopal churches that are running immigration operations. And it was, I mean, I saw $140 million went to one church here in the 7th congressional district. $140 million.
Look at that. Look at the screen. That's the Californication of Maryland. Says, second paragraph, Mr. Moore's latest budget proposal includes a major tax increase. The state's top income tax rate would jump to 6.5 from 5.75 today on filers earning more than $1 million, with a separate 6.25 for those earning more than 500,000. The old 5.75 rate would still fall on taxpayers earning above 250, which in Maryland, fucking everybody filing jointly.
Well, you know, it's interesting here in Maryland, those top wage earners are Democrats.
Yeah, they're all fucking part of the fucking deep state lobbyists and everybody living in fucking
They
Potomac,
are.
dude. You know?
They are. You know, no longer is the Republican Party the so-called party of the rich.
Yeah.
We're the party of the common man.
Yeah, man. Working class, brother.
Yes.
You know,
Which is great. Which is great. I mean, look, I don't make a living using my hands. I use my mind, but I'm a Republican. I have lots of friends who are in the trades, and they all were telling me. I mean, I had concrete poured at my house, and the concrete man came out, and I started talking to him about politics, and he said, "You're damn right. I'm going to vote for Trump."
yeah, dude. I told
Yeah.
you in 2021, I was still in Maryland, and the county sends workers out to trim the trees or whatever that are by the power lines. And, a lot of these workers are, Hispanic guys, Salvadorians, Mexicans. And, they knocked on the door. Hey, we got to trim. Can you move your cars out of your driveway so shit doesn't fall and break and whatever? So I start talking to them while I'm out there. It was right before the election in Virginia. And a lot of these guys live in Virginia, And I was asking them, and I said, hey, so, who did you support? Did you support Biden, Trump? And they're like, oh, no, Biden, but fuck that. This fucking, like they said, este viejo de mierda no sabe nada, this fucking old man doesn't know, anything, right? And, shit's fucked up. I remember by then, dude, the gas had gone up. The fucking supermarket pricings had gone through the roof. Just a year after fucking Trump. And I said, well, where do you guys live? And they're like, in Virginia. And I said, who are you going to vote for? Youngkin or fucking, Terry McCullough? And they're like, fucking Youngkin. They're going to vote for Youngkin. And they did, bro. It was a 22-point fucking Hispanic swing in fucking Virginia, bro. From 2020. And that got Governor Youngkin elected by 1%, which was fucking crazy. The Hispanics fucking just fucking bulldozed all the way on the other side. And, and we saw it then in 2022, and we saw it obviously now, right? In this election, 46% nationwide. It was fucking crazy. But, going to that point is, dude, everybody, I think, that has to work, right? That is not making massive amounts of money feels it in their pocket with the gas in the grocery stores.
Yes.
And that's why they fucking failed so miserably, because they were talking about fucking trans, tampons, and bathrooms. That's all they did.
Well, what was one of the first things Biden did when he got into the Oval Office is he shut down the pipeline, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what really started the inflation. I mean, when you cut off energy sources, okay, it takes fuel, diesel fuel, for trucks to deliver
trains, yeah, everything, dude. Yeah.
Everything, exactly. So that was the seed that was planted early in when he took office.
Well, and
And
on top of that, they pushed that whole Department of Transportation crap. The trucks had to log miles and pay taxes in each state that it drove through.
oh my, I didn't know
Yeah,
about
dude, it
that.
was fucking crazy. It was absolutely fucking nuts, dude. I mean, trucks, they're driving in Virginia. They got to log their miles in Virginia. They go into Maryland. They got to log the miles into Maryland, into Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. And they got to pay taxes in each state for the amount of miles they drive in each state every fucking month. So, wonder why fucking pricing is going through the roof? Because everybody's fucking taking a piece, dude. Dude, this is a free-for-all fucking assault on everybody's fucking pocket, except the rich. That what the fuck, whatever, an extra 10 grand. It doesn't matter if you're making, $1 million, $2 million bucks, right? I mean, these elitists, they don't care. I mean, remember years ago, what was her fucking name? That idiot. I think it was Susan Sarandon or something that said, you should only wipe your ass with one sheet of paper, toilet paper. Remember that shit, dude? I was like, holy shit. Somebody stay away from that fucking bitch. She must fucking smell like dog shit. It's fucking amazing. I mean, but dude, the audacity of these fucking people, dude, is fucking bizarre. They're just fucking nuts.
They are nuts.
Dude, the ice raids. We saw all over the news this morning. David, you got a video for us, right? Yeah. Mr. Producer, Mr. Snurgly. We got to get a Mr. Snurgly, Rod.
Well, you saw my Facebook post last night. I put a image of Dastardly, that dog from the '70s. That and what was the dog was Schmedley. Anyway, Dastardly, because Al Green gets up and says he's going to introduce impeachment articles for the dastardly deeds of President Trump.
All right, let's see if we can find you. I can't see it. It's not on the screen. There it is.
Wednesday morning, federal agencies teamed up to swarm several Denver metro apartment complexes.
Any drugs in the house? Can we come in and check?
The ICE Denver office said more than 100 members of the Venezuelan prison gang Tren de Aragua, or TDA, were targeted in the raids led by Homeland Security Investigations. Our cameras on scene saw several people detained and taken away. We've learned agents made more than a dozen arrests.
I'm finally glad somebody's doing something about this.
These actions were targeted operation focused on violent criminal aliens, TDA members, and those who are a threat to our public safety.
Some witnesses dispute that violent criminals were the only ones targeted. Concerned the door-to-door sweeps seem to be looking for any undocumented immigrants.
All right, so you saw those raids, but there's so tell us about this. They were talking about how they were tipped off and all kinds of shit, right?
Well, so they went into that one apartment complex where the one that had gained national attention during the election, and there was no TDA members there. And outside, there were, these so-called protesters who are really agitators. That's what they are.
That's all they are.
And they've got a bull. She's got a bull. I think it was a she. I can't tell, but
see if you can find that video, Mr. Producer.
You can't. What's that?
I was telling our producer, see if you can find that video.
Oh yeah, you can't tell with these people if they're men or women, but they're out there with a bullhorn in Spanish. Giving instructions. I would imagine it was some kind of lawyer, probably funded by USAID.
Yeah.
In Spanish, telling the inhabitants of that apartment building not to come out, and if they're apprehended, not to say anything. I mean, obviously somebody tipped them off. They've got a leak somewhere, whether it be local law enforcement or maybe even somebody at the federal level. Tipped them off. I saw a report the other day that they're communicating. Was it TikTok that they're communicating, and they're leaving these encrypted messages like "leave the bananas outside," which means ICE is coming into the neighborhood.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. Oh yeah. They're using social media to to communicate their message. I mean that's how all those rioters were assembled 4 years ago in Portland and whatnot. Social media.
Dude, that's crazy, man. And the thing is this is so when Trump was saying that We lost our mic for a second.
There it is.
Okay, I'm
There
back.
it is.
I'm back. Yep. Okay.
You are.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what we had. We had some technical glitch. Mr. Snurgley, what did you do, man? We're gonna have to replace Mr. Snurgley. Anyway, so remember when Trump said that? The mayor of Aurora came out and said that's bullshit. There's no fucking gangs here, And then somebody else, I can't remember. I think it was on CNN with JD Vance. The host said, the president's saying that all these neighborhoods and buildings are taken over by this Venezuelan gang when it was really only 2 buildings. And JD Vance is like, oh my God, can you listen to yourself? You're saying two entire communities.
Only 2.
Yeah, only 2 in the United States of America are taken over by Venezuelan gang members. So when ICE goes in, they have to notify local law enforcement for coordination. So you would have to imagine that the leak came out of the mayor's office. It had to have. What happens there? What's a legal thing? Because I saw Homan talk this morning saying that they're going to arrest people if that continues.
Well, so it's aiding and abetting the hiding of a fugitive. So, if these people have warrants on them, detainers, okay?
Right.
Detainers. That's what a detainer is, a warrant. Okay?
Detainer or retainer?
No, they're called detainers. And
Okay.
let's say, somebody is, been arrested for
DUI or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. And they've got a federal charge someplace else. They put the detainer on them, and that is supposed to tell the local jail, hey, we have detained that person. We have a detainer on them. But what we've seen with, the local law enforcement through, these sanctuary cities is they said they're not going to respect the ICE detainers. So they would let those people out. What's this governor? Is it the one up in Massachusetts who's saying that he's hiding a woman in his home, and probably his maid,
Yeah.
who apparently has some type of warrant out for him or her, and he's saying that he's not going to cooperate with law enforcement. That's aiding and abetting.
Can he get arrested for that?
Well, that's what we're talking about, aiding and abetting. Look, if you are a fugitive from justice, okay, and I hide you in my basement, that's a crime.
It is. Is it a misdemeanor or is it a felony? Is it a misdemeanor or a felony?
I'm sure it's a felony. A felony is defined. The definition of a felony is a crime in which the maximum punishment is more than 1 year. That is the federal definition of what a felony is. So, most crimes are a year.
Wow. And can Honan arrest the governor of Massachusetts?
He's got full police power.
He does, right?
ICE is a federal law enforcement agency.
Yep.
In focus, Trump border czar.
Let me see
Tom
what you got.
Homan. Look, Tom, I have so many questions.
Not on the
First of all,
screen
if
yet.
they're shouting and helping these people get away with bullhorns, how is that legal?
We don't have it on the screen yet,
People in
Mr.
the streets. I know they can
Okay.
protest, but that's not what they're doing.
Yeah, we can hear Harris.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. When they come to they cross the line of impediment, and that's why I'm working very close, starting this morning with Department of Justice.
All right, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, just
In
click
focus,
yes.
Trump
Just
border
whatever.
czar, Tom Homan. Look, Tom, I have so
Like,
many
just X
questions.
out.
First
X
of all,
out.
if they're shouting and
See where
helping
it
these
says
people
X?
get away with bullhorns,
Okay.
how is that legal?
All right, whatever.
To get help from the
Let's see
people
what
in
she
the streets.
says.
I know they can protest, but that's not what they're doing.
You're exactly right. When they come to they cross the line of impediment, and that's why I'm working very close, starting this morning with Department of Justice. And where do they cross that line of impediment? So they may find themselves in a pair of handcuffs very soon. So working with DOJ on that, get some legal guidance on that. I'm not an attorney. I know what SecOps is about. I know what crossing that line is, but getting DOJ back up on that. So it's something we're looking at right now, Harris. We're not going to tolerate it anymore. This is not a game. When we show up these sites, this is a dangerous job for the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol and all the DOJ agencies To have that type of interference puts our officers at great risk. Not only the officers, it puts the aliens at great risk because anything can happen when we take our eyes off the.
All right, so what happened? It won't let you. It won't let you run it.
No, well, let me run unless I like actually take off the ad blocker. Yeah.
So take it off. Who cares?
Yeah, I could hear it.
Yeah, but let's see the video because he talks exactly about that piece that I was telling you about, that you were talking about, the aiding and abetting.
Well, he's talking about impeding a law enforcement operation. And what he said, it's interesting.
All right, let's see if we can get the ads off.
In focus, Trump border czar Tom Homan. Look, Tom, I have so many questions. First of all, if they're shouting.
Can't get it? Fuck it. All right, whatever. Oh, you do? All right. Mr. Snurgley. They're going to run the ad on us.
Attention supermarket shoppers. It's about time we paid everyday low prices, like at Aldi. Not increasingly high prices.
So just mute it while we talk. Whatever. Anyway, so go ahead. Go ahead. You were talking about aiding or impeding.
Impeding. So what is interesting. What Holman was saying is they are asking DOJ for a legal opinion on whether or not they can arrest those people and what the charges would be. And it immediately reminded me of when those assholes went out to Kavanaugh's house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And they were essentially threatening them, threatening the judge, and the DOJ did nothing with the people. Nothing.
Yep.
Did they ever ask DOJ for an opinion letter whether or not they could be arrested? No, because they had no desire to arrest those people for committing a crime. So they didn't ask for the opinion letter. So Holman is being smart before.
Here we go, Ron. Here we go. We got the video queued up now. So let's go.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Trump border czar Tom Homan. Look, Tom, I have so many questions. First of all, if they're shouting and helping these people get away with bullhorns, how is that legal to get help from the people in the streets? I know they can protest, but that's not what they're doing.
You're exactly right. When they come to they cross the line of impediment, and that's why I'm working very close, starting this morning with Department of Justice, and where do they cross that line of impediment? So they may find themselves in a pair of handcuffs very soon. So working with DOJ on that, get some legal guidance on that. I'm not an attorney. I know what SecOps is about. I know what crossing that line is, but getting DOJ back up on that. So it's something we're looking at right now, Harris. We're not going to tolerate it anymore. This is not a game. When we show up these sites, this is a dangerous job for the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol and all the DOJ agencies. To have that type of interference puts our officers at great risk. Not only the officers, it puts the aliens at great risk because anything can happen when we take our eyes off the goal here. So we're addressing that immediately today. I'm addressing OPSEC today, operational security, how these leaks are happening. We've already identified how this operation got leaked. I'll deal with that today.
Interesting.
All right. Dude, obviously that guy's a stud, man.
He is. And the thought that was running through my mind, if you looked at those ICE officers and those law enforcement, they're fully up armored.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then you've got people close by on a bullhorn who are not armored. Look, this is a war type of zone. I mean, these operations that they're conducting are exactly like the door-to-door combat that happened in Iraq.
Yeah, in Fallujah.
It's exactly the same. And if civilian attorneys, I would think that woman who was on the bullhorn, is probably a lawyer from Catholic Charities or one of the other religious.
Casa, Maryland.
Yeah, right. There's going to be a situation where there are bullets flying because these gangs are dangerous. This is not.
I was about to say that because these gangs are criminal assassins. They have guns. They have weapons. Yeah. They could find themselves shot.
Look, when you get involved with a criminal gang, they don't hire attorneys, okay, to send you a lawyer letter.
Right. They just shoot you.
Exactly. So somebody standing out on the street who's not armored and not protected is really taking their life in their own hands.
And the other thing, Rod, is it is impeding, but it's also making law enforcement's job more dangerous because now they got to protect these idiots.
They don't care about that. Yeah. They do not care about that. they think they've got some kind of moral authority to go out there and give, legal advice.
So you know Pam, I know Pam. I've met Pam a long, long time ago, very, very much at the beginning of her career when she was running with Rick Scott back in 2010 in that wave, that Tea Party wave, right? Totally reminded me. That's when Marco ran for the U.S. Senate, beat out Chris Christie, etc. There was a historic moment. And you worked with her in 2020 and have stayed in touch with her. You think she's going to put up with this bullshit?
Oh, of course not. Look, I don't know Pam Bondi. I mean, I know her, but I don't know her. You understand what I mean? I have a professional relationship with her. She and I worked together on the Trump campaign the last time around, and in Philadelphia, what we call EDO, Election Day Operations. But only as a, not a friend, a professional relationship. Yeah. But I have been so impressed with her. Not only, is she smart, she's also tough.
Yeah.
Okay. And look, you don't get to the position where she is without having both qualities, at least on our side of the party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, some of these attorney generals who have, sat in that office before, they may be smart people, book smart people. Are they tough? No. And speaking of tough, how about Governor Kristi Noem?
Oof.
Oh my gosh. I mean, putting on the armor and going out there.
South Dakota, baby, right?
Yeah. It's funny. South Dakota, I lived in South Dakota for a year. I was in law school. My first year of law school, I went to South Dakota. I wanted to get away from the East Coast, so I've tried to pick a place as far away as I could so that I could just study. I was fortunate enough to be in South Dakota while the movie Dances with Wolves was being filmed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a really a unique opportunity to be out there with the Native people. And let me tell you something. They are some wonderful, beautiful people. I know that my friends in South Dakota are probably upset with the renaming of the so-called commanders in Washington, D.C. I mean, that's just a joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, South Dakota is a beautiful state. I got to hunt every day pretty much while I was in law school. I would go out to the mighty Missouri River and just shoot my shotgun out over there. It was a lot of fun. But being out there while they filmed Dances with Wolves was really unique. And I'll tell you an interesting story. So while I was out there, the law school had an organization called the Native American Law Students Association. And look, my family's been in Maryland since they came over on the Ark and Dove, 1634. And like Senator Warren in Massachusetts, I have a little tiny little piece of Native American blood. And while I was out,
probably more Native American than Senator Warren, huh?
Probably not. Who knows how much? But my 37th great grandmother was Princess Kittikamunda of the Piscataway Indian Nation here in Maryland. Wow. She married a gentleman by the name of Giles Brent, who was the first governor of the state of the colony of Maryland under Leonard Calvert. But anyway, so when I was out in South Dakota, I said, hey, I'd like to join the Native American Law Students Association. And they said, well, you can join, but you can't be a voting member. And I'm like, okay. They said, well, unless you're Native American. And I explained it, my 37th great grandmother was this Indian princess. So they allowed me to be a voting member of the Native American Law Students Association. Well, the dean of the law school found out about it. And one day I got a note. I was sitting in class and I got a note. Mr. Whitstad, please report to the dean's office after class. And I'm like, oh shit, man, what did I do?
He found out you're a Republican.
I get up there. Well, the interesting thing is the assistant dean was a Air Force JAG officer. But anyway, I get up there and he's got my application. He's like, Mr. Whitstad, I'm reviewing your law school application. And it says here that you're white. And I'm like, yeah, I am white. Right. He goes, well, how are you a voting member of the Native American Law Students? I told, well, that's great. He goes, would you do me a favor? Would you uncheck white and recheck Native American. I'm like, what? Like, what? What are you talking about? I
Quotas.
said, why? Why? And he said, well, the more minorities we have enrolled in the school, the more federal money we get. And I looked at him, I go, well, I'll do that if I get a third of the money, that the feds are going to send to you for having me enrolled here. I wanted my attorney's, one third contingency fee. And he kind of just laughed and said we couldn't do that. But living in South Dakota was absolutely the best. And the guy who sat next to me was a gentleman by the name of Charlie Aberesk. And Charlie is a practicing attorney in Rapid City, South Dakota. His father was Senator Aberesk, and Charlie was married to the widow of one of the Sioux men who was killed at the Wounded Knee, federal assault in what was it, 72? By the way, and I think Biden pardoned Leonard Peltier on the way out. I don't know if you know who Leonard Peltier was, but he was involved with the Wounded Knee assault out in Rapid City. But anyway, Charlie was a really interesting and cool guy. And because he was married to this Native woman, who, as you know, the Native people are sovereign nations within the United States, Charlie was hand selected by President Reagan. And Charlie's a Democrat. He was hand selected by President Reagan to go to Iran and help negotiate the release of the Iran hostages.
Wow.
And Charlie was a buddy of mine. He and I keep in contact. He was a really neat guy. I mean, the fact that he went over and helped with the release of the Iranian hostages, I thought was just super cool. Super cool.
That is, man. And we know, and we have a friend in common in South Dakota. Even the Democrats are not.
Oh, yes.
They're not moonbats over there. They're more Republican now than Democrats. Our friend Jeffrey Hazlett. I know he was super happy with Kristi Noem getting the nomination. I know for a while he was like, hey, Trump should make her his VP, and look, she's head of Homeland Security, so that's a big shoes to
And
fill.
she's doing a great job. Like I said, look, this conversation started because I said, how tough is she? Because we're talking about
Pam.
how tough the.
We just lost Rod. He'll come back. But anyway, so we were talking about that. Oh, there he is. So we were talking about Pam and how tough, and is she going to put up with that bullshit? I don't think so, right?
No, I think she's gonna see what Kristi Noem's doing, and she's not gonna put up with any crap. Now, I don't think she's gonna go on political witch hunts like they think she is. That I think the days of the weaponization of the DOJ are over.
Yeah,
they're over.
Yeah, but back to Homan. In his consultation with DOJ does have legal grounds to have these people arrested, right?
Well, look, part of the job of the DOJ, when we're talking about the lawyer side of the DOJ, is to provide legal advice to agencies.
Right.
Okay. Look, I don't know how many assistant attorney generals there are out in the world. I mean, there's 10,000 of them who work for DOJ. 10,000 of them. But there's a department, or there's attorneys who are assigned to ICE who write legal opinions to operate. Sorry about that, buddy. I got texts and telephone calls coming in.
That's fine.
So the DOJ, the lawyer side of the DOJ, part of their, there's so many different, functions of the DOJ. Part of it is to bring criminal federal charges against individuals and companies and corporations, and the other is to provide legal advice. And of course, then there's the civil litigation side of things. So yes, when Holman's talking about he's going to go talk to DOJ, he's going to ask them for an opinion letter of what are our options when we're conducting a raid and there are civilians getting in our way.
And you, as a lawyer, what would be your opinion if you're a DOJ? Because rumor has it that you're going to be. Rumor has it that you're going to be a DOJ sometime later this year. So let's get you on the record now, man.
We'll see. So it's interesting. So look, You cannot get if that person who was out there with the bullhorn is an attorney, and he or she, whatever that person was, has a client inside the building. That puts a little bit of a spin on it. Like, you can't, the law enforcement cannot get in between an attorney and their client. So if she's an attorney and she's giving legal advice to her client, it kind of reminds me when I was in law school.
What a way to fuck
I was
things
down
up.
in Georgetown. Or when I got out of the Navy, I was in Georgetown with a friend. And we drove home, and he got pulled over on New York Avenue, right by the McDonald's there, Route 50, heading out of D.C., and got charged with got arrested for DWI. And I asked the police officer, I said, "Where are you taking him?" And they took him to wherever it was in Washington. And I went down there, and I demanded to see my client, and they had to let me in. Okay. Now, I wasn't impeding on a law enforcement activity, but I was asking to see my client. So, if that person's a lawyer, that's gonna throw a big monkey wrench into the legal analysis.
Fuck.
If that person is a non-lawyer, they're gonna get arrested. I would have them charged.
Wow. Well, dude, that was very educational, Rod. Thank you. So it's not as black and white as everybody thinks, and fucking lock them up and throw them in there and beat the shit out of them or whatever.
Well, that's the thing about look. That's why you get all these different opinions, and that's why we have a Supreme Court in the end. I mean, the cases that the Supreme Court often take are when there is what we call a split in the opinions of different states, so that they can once and for all say what the law of the United States is. But when I was in law school, here's the thing about law school: it's not hard at all, because there is no right or wrong answer when you're writing an essay. It's how you get to that conclusion. That's why you can have different judges have different opinions on legal issues. But when the Supreme Court speaks, that's the end.
Wow, man, that's fuck complicated, man. That's probably why there aren't that many good lawyers, and that's probably why when they're not good lawyers and they're more agenda driven, they fuck shit up and they turn the DOJ into what we saw the last 4 years, right?
Well, look, when you're a government attorney, a DOJ attorney, you have to put your political beliefs aside. Okay. Now, the problem is with the last Department of Justice, specifically with regard to Trump, is they went around and looked for charges. Okay, you can't do it that way. You don't pick a name and then go out and see if you can find a charge. Okay, when a crime is committed, then you can prosecute, but you don't go and look for crimes against a certain person. That right there is the weaponization of the DOJ, and that's got to end.
That's fucked up, dude. That is fucked up big time.
Like, I'll give you for example. Okay, so Chuck Schumer, as we saw, threatened Justice Kavanaugh, and a couple of the other Supreme Court justices when he was out in front of the Supreme Court saying, "We're going to come get you." Okay? If he gets charged for that crime, it's not that they went after because he's Chuck Schumer. It's because he committed a crime.
Mr. Producer, take a look at this tweet that I just sent you from the president. See if you can put it up. Actually, it's a tweet from Elon Musk, but it's a screen grab from Trump's post on Truth.
By the way, are they still called tweets when you put something up on X?
X's? I don't know. I mean, there you go. Look at that. Looks like billions of dollars.
Can you read?
Look at that. Looks like
billions. Can you read
for
it? It's small on my screen. Can you read it for me?
Yeah. I'm going to read it. So Trump posts on Truth. It says, looks like billions of dollars have been stolen at USAID and other agencies, much of it going to the fake news media as a payoff for creating good stories about the Democrats. The left-wing rag known as Politico seems to have received $8 million. Did the New York Times receive money? Who else? This could be the biggest scandal of them all, perhaps the biggest in history. The Democrats can't hide from this one. Too big, too dirty. Thank you, Mr. Producer. He's not gonna let go of that bone. He's not gonna let go of that bone, dude.
Well, he shouldn't. Look, the amount of money that we are taxed? And look at the debt that this nation is in.
Over 30
Look at
trillion.
it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And here we are just sending money all around the world. Look, there are times when we have to send money around the world. There's no question about it.
Well, and you heard
Okay.
Ron yesterday. I mean, there's a second agenda at USAID, which
Of
is,
course.
the CIA fucking, outfit, right? And then when I was telling you about it, you're like, holy shit, he said that on the air. And then fucking Jesse Waters came out with it last night. So, you heard it first. You heard it first here. But
Well, I think he
it's
watched
true,
your
right?
podcast, and then Jesse watched your podcast.
No, Megyn Kelly was listening to Battleground all those times, and he stole my fucking tagline. But hey, it is what it is, right? But dude,
So I do have to say one thing about the USAID. I
Yeah.
saw where some monies were being sent. Was it in Gaza for rubbers and condoms?
yeah. So
I'm okay with that, dude.
yeah, but
I'm okay with
our
that.
producer fact checked that yesterday, and it's not Gaza, the Gaza Strip. It's Gaza, a province in Mozambique. So
okay.
yeah, but
Well,
still,
look,
dude,
you can send
$50 million in
contraceptives to
condoms,
terrorist
dude.
nations.
Get the hell out of here.
You can send contraceptives to terrorist nations, terrorist people all the time. If it's going to, cease new terrorists from being born, I'm all for it.
Yeah, they should just fucking be castrated. Fuck it,
Well, remember, that's what a eunuch is, okay? A eunuch, if you remember this, so in, like Saudi Arabia, they have harems, right?
Yeah.
And they would put, you remember from the movies, it was always be some really big burly guy, and he's a eunuch. Look up what a eunuch is.
Yeah, castrated
He's
guy.
castrated. That's why he's in the harem, because he's castrated.
Yeah, because you can't do anything to him. All right.
Right, exactly.
He's just there to protect. Right. That's crazy, bro. They should do that here to rapists. I don't know why they don't do that. That should be a thing, or chemical castrate them.
So when I was in the Navy, okay, unfortunately, I represented a lot of murderers, rapists, and child sexual abusers. And the Army, Fort Leavenworth, one of my clients was a serial child rapist. And if I told you, I will tell you. So while this is when the 7th Fleet was still in PI in the Philippines, right? He sexually abused his stepdaughters for years, and the command knew about it. And when they shut down the PI and he got shipped back here to the United States, he continued to abuse his stepdaughters. And
Shit, dude, that's fucked up.
Commanding officer here in San Diego found out about it and had him charged criminally. And he was court-martialed and went, he's in Leavenworth. Well, when I was reviewing his record at trial, I noticed, oh my God, look how many times he's been to non-judicial punishment for, abusing his daughters while he was in the Philippines. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why in the world is this guy not getting criminally prosecuted in the Philippines by the Navy for the same conduct that he was criminally prosecuted for in the United States, right? Like all this later sexual abuse could have been avoided if he would have been prosecuted while he was still in the PI. And listen, I swear to God, this is what I was told. I was told that the commanding officer of the 7th Fleet had the mere Filipino rule.
Had what?
The mere Filipino rule. And I said, what do you mean by that? They said the victim was a mere Filipino.
Holy shit, dude.
Holy shit. Mike, you got to be kidding me. That's the mentality that our, admirals and captains of the 7th Fleet had, that these girls were mere Filipinos. I mean, they're human beings. Seriously, serially sexually molested by my client. Now, luckily, he got, I don't remember what his sentence was. I mean, I'm not kidding you. It was like 80, 90 years, right? 80 or 90 years for what he did to those girls. And he was in Leavenworth, and while he was there, the CEO of Leavenworth they were conducting studies on the sexual predators who were in there, and they were trying to figure out how they could alter their genitals so that they wouldn't be aroused when they saw images of children.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
did they castrate him or something?
No. I mean, I can't remember the full details of it, but they were like, they had something hooked up to it.
Jesus.
Okay. Yeah, they had something hooked up to it, and they would show them images, and they would,
Jeez.
they would measure whether or not there was any growth.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Seriously. Now, these prisoners, they consented to this because they knew that they were warped, sick individuals. All child molesters know that they're sick. They all know it. They just continue to do it. I once asked my expert witness. I was preparing for a trial, and the defense is that this guy was molested as a child himself. And I'm like, man, I just don't get it. And he goes, let me explain it to you. He goes, when you were a child, your mother or your father put you to bed. They, brushed your teeth. They laid you down. They pulled the covers up. They read you a story, said your prayers, kissed you on your forehead, and you went to sleep, right? That's normal. Well, what happened to these people is that when they were children, they go through that same thing, but maybe the dad would put his dick in the kid's mouth.
Fuck.
Right? And
so
these
they're
kids,
molested.
They grow up thinking that's normal. And when they become adults, they do that to their own children.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, that's what this psychiatrist told me. But a lot of it is just learned behavior.
So they're molested as children as well.
Molested as children. Yeah.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I represented this. I don't know if I've told you this on another episode, but I had a woman that she and her husband were both active duty naval persons, and they had 2 boys, and this family had orgies. Okay. These boys were like 13, 14, 15, and they were having sex with each other. The 2 boys were having sex with each other. Dad was having sex with them. They had sex with their mother. And by the time she got to court-martial, she was pregnant. All right? And they couldn't tell who the father was. Was it her husband, or was it one of her 2 boys?
Ricky's truck is having trouble spelling.
Yeah.
Dude, that's fucked up as shit.
That child was born. She was in prison when that child was born. The child was taken from her immediately by social services. That was about 1995. So a child is,
That's crazy, dude. Federal judge orders limited Doge access to sensitive Treasury Department payroll systems.
Yeah, so what they're worried about there is, non-governmental employees. I mean, there's a lot of, social security numbers and all that kind of stuff in there. I mean, that's not what he's looking for. He's not going after individual paychecks.
Yeah.
He's looking for big checks going to, different agencies and what the memo is for the reason of that payment.
Look at that. Alliance for Retired Americans et al. Plaintiffs. That's what it is. There it is. It's actually on Fox, the whole fucking complaint.
Yeah, that was news. I saw it last night where that federal judge had granted that injunction. So they're not going to be allowed. They're not going to be allowed to look at individual paychecks, right? So so and so,
at the
DOJ, they're not going to be able to look at their pay history.
Yeah.
But that's not what they're interested in anyway. They're looking for where the big dollars are going. They're not looking at rank and file government.
So going back to Pam, right?
Yeah.
And DOJ, you're a lawyer, former JAG. You've seen a lot of crazy shit in your day, and even recently that we can revisit in a minute if you want, back from the PPE days. But what is going to be? How does she clean that fucking cesspool up?
Well, first of
Because
all,
it's huge, right? It's a huge fucking organization,
I
and there
mean,
are
Google
so
it real
many.
quick. I can't Google like how many lawyers are in the DOJ.
Mr.
Google
Producer,
it. It's got to be 10,000.
I'm not sure. Let's see what he Googles. But
Yeah.
dude, it's got to be so many people in there that are ideologues. You know,
And like I
how
said, you're
many
not
lawyers, how many
supposed to
attorneys
be
in
like
the
that.
DOJ?
You're supposed to be impartial.
Yeah, but
Justice is
obviously they're not,
blind.
right?
If you've ever been to the Supreme Court, Lady Justice, who's up there, has a blindfold on her.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a reason for that, and that includes, lawyers when you are a
Over
government
10,000,
attorney.
Rod. Over 10,000 lawyers.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's gonna. There are lawyers. Look, I remember when I first got out of law school, I had some roommate down the beach, and he was an AUSA, assistant USA, and he hated Ed Meese. And I said, "Why the fuck don't you just quit?"
Right.
Like, no, was it Ed? Not Ed Meese. No. Who was who was the? See if you can Google this real quick. Who was the Attorney General when Bush won? I'm sorry, George W. Bush was the president.
Oh, it was that guy from Missouri.
I'm drawing a blank right now, but this guy hated him because he was a very religious person, and he would start the day off in the DOJ with a prayer, with Bible study. And actually, this guy was a
Ashcroft or something like that. Albert Gonzalez.
Yeah, was it?
Ashcroft.
Yeah, was it him? Yeah.
Right.
And he hated him, and he would.
Yeah.
I said, well, why do you work for the? Why do you work for the Department of Justice if you don't like your boss? Like, quit, do something else.
And what do you say?
I don't know. He's a piece of shit, man. I mean, he
Yeah,
needed
well, there you go, bro. There you go.
he needed a paycheck. But all he would do was bitch and bitch and bitch about who the AG was. Like, okay, leave then.
Right.
If you don't believe in the mission, leave. So, I'm sure there's a ton of lawyers. Look, all the appointees are gone. All the appointees are gone. But the bureaucrats, the rank and file lawyers, I mean, I'm hopeful, optimistic, I guess, that the rank and file lawyers are not partisan. Now, look, if you're working for the DOJ and your boss tells you to investigate Donald Trump,
Yeah.
okay, that's your job. You're going to do it. Does that mean that you're an ideologue, out to get him? I hope not.
That would be a problem, right?
Well, yeah, that is the problem. You're not allowed. Look, the DOJ cannot say we're going to come after Ivan. Let's find the crime. Okay, if they know that you've committed a crime, then they can come after you. It doesn't work the other way. It's not a name and then go find a crime, and that's what they did with Trump. For the past 4 years, they went after and they looked for criminal activity. You can't do it. It's not the way it works. That's not the way the Constitution was written.
So, see if Mr. Producer can put up that tweet from your friend Sidney Powell. It says, yeah, I don't really think that he can do that. The President of the United States has full authority over the executive branch. A tweet saying, that the federal judge is limited Doge. That's not true, right?
Wait, she's saying what?
So it's there's a tweet that says, David, can you pull it up? Breaking now, federal judge limits Doge access to sensitive Treasury Department information. Right there it is on the screen. Sidney goes, I really don't think he can do that. The President of the United States has full authority over the executive branch.
She's criticizing the judge.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But I don't think that's accurate, right? I mean, the judge can say, legally he can't do that.
I don't know enough about the case, but look, a federal judge has a lot of power, and yes, they can enjoin executive activity, but they better be on solid ground when they do it.
What's the penalty if they don't?
Nothing.
Okay, so
Or get overturned on appeal, and maybe. So a lot of times when judges make dumb rulings, they get overturned on appeal, and that opinion is published. Okay, now look, no appellate judge is going to just come right out and say this judge is a dumbass for ruling this way, but there's a polite way to write it. Okay, there's a polite way to write an appellate opinion when the appellate court is like, there's no reason, a trial judge should have made this ruling.
Well, if you look at some of the opinions of the judges, in the appellate case of Trump on the 34, felonies or indictments, right?
But we're in the appeal yet, so there's no.
Yeah, but there was
decision.
a hearing a couple months ago, and one of the judges said, this case would have never been brought to trial if the guy's name was John Smith.
Yeah, so that was on the judgment, and so I don't remember what the dollar amount of the judgment was, but it was massive.
It was like $485 million. Yeah.
Right. So to take an appeal, what the court was requiring was that Trump post a bond in the same amount as the judgment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they wanted to bankrupt him. Yeah.
Right, and so look, the appellate court rightfully lessened the bond. I think it was like $67 million or something.
At the end, yep.
Yeah. But that case, basically what they were saying, it wasn't right for appeal. The courts do not like what we call interlocutory appeals. I think.
Which is what? What does that mean?
Interlocutory appeal is when an appeal is taken while the trial is still going on. Okay? They like to take an appeal when the case is finally finished and then review the entire transcript for error. There are cases where where interlocutory appeals are proper, and they will be heard, but appellate courts do not like to take interlocutory appeals. And at the end, I think the Trump defense in the Alvin Bragg bullshit case. Remember, they had asked the Supreme Court to step in and postpone the sentencing, and the Supreme Court declined to do so because they didn't want to get involved with it at an interlocutory. They wanted the case to be final. That case will go to the Supreme Court.
It will end up there, right?
Yeah. So first, it's got to go. So the appellate process is in a case like that, and I'm not a New York attorney, so I don't know how many courts of appeal they have. Here in Maryland, we have two courts of appeal. One's called the court. Well, they just changed the name, but I'm going to use their old name: the Court of Special Appeals, and then the Court of Appeals. The Court of Special Appeals is like a lower appellate court. But anyway, to get to the Supreme Court, you have to exhaust your appellate remedies in a state case. You have to exhaust. So you got to
go to the Supreme Court in your state too, right?
In your state first, and then you can go straight to the Supreme Court.
So that costs millions and millions and millions of dollars that he'll never get back.
So I think I showed you one time. It will cost a lot of money. And so in 1994, when I was in the Navy, I filed what they call a writ of certiorari. Okay, a writ of certiorari is asking the Supreme Court to take the case. You do not get to the Supreme Court as a matter of right. Okay, there are ways to get there, but normally it's not a matter of right. The court has to agree to take the case because they only want to take special cases. Okay. So you file what's called a writ of certiorari. So when I was in the Navy, I think if I go over there and look in one of my drawers, I could find my writs. I took two cases to the Supreme Court. And this was in like 1994, 1995. The government printing office who printed the writs, once we wrote them, they had to be in a very specific format. The bill for just the printing and the binding of the writ, and this is again in 1995, was like $65,000.
Jesus Christ, dude!
$65,000. Okay, the Supreme Court has very specific rules on the size of the paper, the font that you have to use, the spacing. I mean, it's crazy. Like I'm not sure if I had it here. If I had it here, I could show you what the font is. It's very special. It's not on your computer, okay? That Supreme Court font. And so, when you file that writ, you're not just filing one. You have to... I don't remember how many it is, but it was back then. It was
Like
like
100 copies or something, right?
It was like 600 copies.
Holy shit, dude! What?
Well, first of all, so there's 9 judges.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're staffers, right?
each of the judges has about 5 law clerks who work for them. Right, so that's 45 copies right there. Then, of course, you got to send a copy to the Library of Congress and to the other side and to all parties. But the main part is all those copies went to the law schools.
Oh wow!
Mm-hmm.
So your writs are in law schools and in the Library of Congress right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're out there.
Wow.
So one of the cases, we, I got Justice White to write what's called a dissenting opinion, where he said he was interested in the case and wanted to bring it up to the Supreme Court, but the rest of the justices said no. So both of the cases I filed writs of certiorari, they were denied at the Supreme Court. But it was a great learning experience for me. Now, Dave Jonas, our friend who's appeared on your show before,
Yeah.
Dave and I worked. Excuse me, 1 second. Dave and I worked on a case that he got certiorari granted, and Dave actually argued a case in front of the Supreme Court.
That's amazing, dude. Hey, so outside of your professional, legal, I guess, commercial practice, you played a huge political, legal role for decades, involved in a lot of campaigns, including 2020. I don't know if you want to really talk about that. Probably not. But, you supported so many presidential races and others as well. How does somebody that's running for office get a hold of you? How do you work? Do you just advise campaigns, advise the candidate? What is your role in these things, and how do you take on clients? How do you decide to take on a client? Right.
Well,
so if somebody's running for U.S. Senate here in Florida, or for state Senate, or for school board or whatever, and they say, you know what, dude, that dude's a fucking boss, dude. I need to fucking hire that guy because all these fucking other guys are fucking jackasses. How do they get a hold of you? How do they retain you? How does that work?
Yeah, so you're gonna laugh at this, but it's the work that I've done for governors, presidents, senators, whatever. I've never charged them.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Don't give out your information, man, because everybody's gonna be calling you from around the country.
Yeah. So when we have what we know is going to be a contested election, very tight, like this last one was. I've been a member of the Republican National Lawyers Association since I got off active duty. Okay, the RNLA is run by a gentleman by the name of Mike Thielen. He's done a fantastic job. I don't know how many of us are members of the RNLA, but generally speaking, what will happen is the RNLA will say, "Hey, we need some lawyers here, there, whatever." Now, with the presidential stuff, because I've done it so many times, right? So many times,
including the Florida recount, right?
Well, the Florida recount, yep. But what we call election day ops, and then the potential for litigation after the election day. That's where really my experience has come in. Yes, I've done the recounts. I've done them on the state and the federal level. The last recount I did was for Rick Scott and Governor DeSantis. We were in Broward County. You might remember the lady. She looked like a skunk. She had black hair and then this white stripe that went down the middle of her hair. She was the
skunk.
She
only Rod Wishak
can
can come up with that analogy. Holy shit, dude.
She was the chair of the Broward County Election Board.
Yeah.
Right.
She was a fucking lunatic, by the way.
Yeah,
Oh
dude.
God,
I we went down there, and it was the craziest situation. Like when there's all these protesters out in the parking lot, right? Well, they're all quiet all day long until the lights of the cameras come on. Then they start beating their stupid drums and dancing around like making a scene. So there's that whole fiasco going on. But we as attorneys, we have credentials. We're fully credentialed. We can go in there and we can watch the recount. Now, what I found interesting about that, well, let me back up for a second. So on that ballot, it was a 4-page ballot. Okay, it opened up like a menu or a book. All right, and on the first page of the ballot was all the instructions about how to vote. Okay, and down on the bottom, on the front page was one um, ballot, one election. And I can't remember if it was. I don't remember if it was DeSantis who was down there or Scott that was down there. But down on the bottom
in
of the
2000,
front,
that was Jeb.
no. This was Rick Scott
And Rick Scott's election. Okay, yeah. Rick Scott.
when he became senator.
Yeah.
And
That was recent.
DeSantis was running for governor against that crackhead.
Yeah.
Remember that crackhead?
Yeah. They got arrested in like a crack house and all that, naked with some dude. And
So the issue was on the front page of the ballot in Broward County. It was all instructions except down on the bottom right hand side, and then you open up the ballot, and then it was all where to vote. Well, your typical dumb, lazy person didn't look carefully. Everyone was like, wait a minute, why did Scott get so many votes and DeSantis didn't? Or why did DeSantis get so many votes and Scott didn't? I can't remember which one it was. It's because they didn't see that piece down at the bottom. They opened up the ballot and started on the top of the inside. Right?
Yeah.
So it's called an undervote. Okay, the undervote was like, it was weird. So, we go down there and we're watching the ballots get reread, they're getting scanned. And I noticed that the election workers are bringing in these tote boxes, okay? The ballots are in these tote boxes, and they are like a plastic box that the top kind of integrates and sealed, okay? Like locks down together. And then there's one of those snap locks on top of it. It's not really a lock, it's like a safety pin. It's like a big safety pin that it's a clip that keeps it together, right? So, in order to get into the box, you got to break the clip open, and then the workers would pull out the ballots and they'd run them through the machine. Not a big deal, right? So, me and my friend were out in the parking lot watching these idiot protesters, and I'm just kind of kicking around in the parking lot, and I look down on the ground, and I'm like, what the hell is this out here? Those pins were all over the parking lot.
Holy shit! So they've been popping them.
They popped them out in the parking lot. So we started asking around, and I'm like, so what happens when these ballots leave the voting place?
Yeah, the precinct.
I kid you not. They're put in those boxes, and then they are given to like, Atlas Company. I'm like, what? Like, county election officials are not moving? No. We hired a moving company.
Holy shit, dude.
I'm like, wait a minute. They're just going into the back of a truck, there's no chain of custody here, and I've got all these busted out clips all over the parking lot here. Like, what in the hell's going on? Like, there was no security on these ballots. Well, as it turns out, when we did the recount, and again, I can't remember who had the under ballot, but whoever it was, during the recount, we picked up 300 votes for either Scott or DeSantis. 300 votes on the recount.
Amazing.
And that woman, there's a deadline when you do a recount. Sarasota, no, what's the capital of Florida? Not Sarasota. Tallahassee. Tallahassee says, okay, you do your recount. That recount tally must be to us no later than, 1 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, whatever it is, right? So, as it turns out, in Broward County, we picked up 300 votes in Broward County for the Republican, whether it was DeSantis or Scott, I can't remember what it was. And we're like, okay, certify the vote. And she's like, I'm a little busy right now.
She was running out the clock, yeah.
She ran out the clock.
What a piece of shit.
So they requested the recount. Okay, it wasn't us. They requested the recount. And then when the vote turned the other way, towards the Republicans.
So she wouldn't
They,
certify it.
they didn't. They didn't certify. So
That's amazing, bro.
So this was. Remember, this is not hanging Chad stuff. This is this is fill in the little oval.
Yeah.
The scanners. I have photographs of the scanning machines on my picture. So you walk in, and it's a warehouse, and they've got like plastic chairs and tables set up where they're having these so-called hearings because we had the right to challenge any ballot that we wanted to, and if you challenge something, then they'd bring it out in front of the whole group, and it was like this open air thing. But in the big warehouse, they had this huge glass wall set up, and you would stand there by the glass wall and watch the ballots be, the election workers, taking the ballots out and sending them through the machine, scanning them through the machine. So really nothing to see there. But,
that's crazy, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, this Doge thing keeps on blowing up. David, I sent you a couple of tweets there. He is uncovering more and more. Look at that. $186 billion errors. Look at that. And where did they go? $51 billion to Medicare, $50 billion to Medicaid, $43 billion to federal pandemic unemployment assistance, $21 billion, almost $22 billion earned income tax credit. These are errors. Paycheck to PPP loan forgiveness, $18 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it is mad. Dude, it is crazy.
Hey, Ivan, can you do a commercial break real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead and run out. We'll stay on. Yeah, we'll stay on. Go. He's got to take a piss. Bathroom breaks, man. You gotta do one of those redneck things where you connect it to like a bottle with a hose or something. But hey, Mr. Producer, why don't you open up Twitter and let's see what's going on Twitter, man? Because it's crazy out there. The amount of stuff that's happening, it is fascinating. Just open the whole thing. Oh yeah, we saw that. Yeah, that's crazy. Look at that. So they were pushing. USAID was pushing programs on foreign countries for them to pass laws and regulations to influence, to censor content on social media. Look at that. Developing norms and standards. This is actual language. Legal and regulatory framework and better social media content moderation is necessary for a healthy information ecosystem. I mean, it is crazy. These guys have no control. They have absolutely no parameters, and we see it every day. And I think the job that Elon Musk and his team is doing, and we saw yesterday the media trying to dox, the kids that are helping Musk in Doge. They named 5 kids that were like I don't know in their early to mid 20s, super smart, but they doxed them, put their names out, put their faces out, to try and intimidate these kids to, I guess, quit. I don't know. I mean, it's the media is disgusting. Is absolutely fucking, dude. They're vile. They are vile fucking people. What are the laws on that, man? On outing and doxing people. I mean, what? I mean, the media who yesterday blasted the 5 kids that are working in Doge, their names and their faces and, all that crap to try and scare these fucking kids. That one of them is as young as 19. The older one, I think, is like 25 or something. And you got the others that are in between, like, low to mid 30s, 20s. But they put them out there, to fuck with them, to try and intimidate them. I mean, dude, seriously?
Well, so it takes me back to the Atlanta bomber situation, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And the media jumped on, I can't even remember.
Yeah, the guy. The security guy, yeah.
Or the young man who went to the was it the Right to Life march?
Yeah, the kid, the Covington kid. Yeah.
When the media publishes false information about an individual, like the privacy laws are different between a guy like me who's a private individual and somebody like some celebrity. They don't enjoy the level of privacy that somebody like me or you or your son.
Well, I don't know, man. We got to take this offline, but you remember there were a lot of stories pushed out there about me that I took $40 million from the government of Venezuela and embezzled them and had a fake payroll with 350 employees of friends and family and stole $20 million from the Republican Party and shit like that. I mean,
well, there's libel and slander laws that are out there that protect people. Like, that's why, like, you can say anything about Trump, and there's really nothing that he can do about it. I mean, you can call him anything, or anyone who's in the public realm, as long as it's not done with malice. Well,
it's all done with malice.
Well, yeah, but the privacy laws are different for public figures. Okay, so these young people who are working for Dodge, if their privacy is exposed, they may have a cause of action against the media,
even if they're part of this Doge agency, and I guess
they may.
Employees
they've got a right to privacy.
They do, right?
Yeah, of course they do. Now, and if the media says anything false about them, then they've got, a libel or slander case. The difference between libel and slander is the spoken word, libel is the written word.
Yep. Amazing. So, hey, Rod, it's always a pleasure, brother. You're an encyclopedia, a professor of law, and a stud. We still never get to the decoys. We gotta touch that next time because you have a collection of that stuff. It would be a lot of fun. I don't know where he went. I guess he just. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Yeah.
He's back. Yeah. Rod Winstead is like water and oil when it comes to technology, guys.
Hold on one second.
There he goes again. But anyways, man, we always have a good time with Rod. He shares so many stories, legal stuff. Look, if you're running for office, you're doing a lot of. There he goes. Look at those decoys. Fascinating story. I know you wrote a book about him too, right?
I did. Yeah. This is a bird that was hunted on over during the Civil War on the Chesapeake Bay.
Are you being serious?
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is old. This is 1850.
Wow. Well, let's do that next time. Let's go through that. Make sure you got some cool stuff to show us. I know you set up a podcast studio in your new firm's office, right?
I did.
When is that going to go live?
Man, I'm sorry, my text keeps going off.
That's right.
I hope certainly very soon.
So people will be able to follow you on all the platforms and when they want to hear law, right? What's that podcast going to be about?
Well, so it's interesting. I wanted to call it the Star Chamber. Okay, and if you know anything, there was a movie called The Star Chamber back in the 80s. It's pretty interesting. It was about a judge who has to let go like some child rapist on a technicality, and he gets all upset about it. And he goes to his chief judge. He's like, I had to let this guy go. He was a piece of shit. And he goes, well, it's about time I introduce you to the Star Chamber. And the Star Chamber was a bunch of judges who would sit around and talk about, these despicable cases that they had to let these people go on technicalities. And then they would decide whether or not the person was actually guilty or not. And they always found them guilty. And then they would hire a hitman and go out and execute them.
Holy shit.
So that's what the Star Chamber was. So I was like, okay, I'm going to call this the Star Chamber. I think that's a pretty cool name. Chamber being what a judge sits in. They sit in their chamber, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and star being, they're all stars.
And then I didn't do anything on it, and somebody else started a podcast called The Star Chamber.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah. All right, Rod, well, I appreciate you, brother. We'll connect. And we got to start scheduling something, on an ongoing basis, so we can have these legal conversations. There's so much happening, especially now. And everything the president's doing, there's going to be a lot of contention and a lot of activists that are going to try and slow it down, contest it. We already saw one judge do what it did. So we're going to need a good lawyer to come and explain to us non-lawyers what that all means, because we all hear different things from a lot of people that frankly aren't lawyers, and just have opinions. I mean, look, Sydney, I guess, is a lawyer, but, she's got, I guess, her opinions as well. But We love hearing from you, bro.
When she made that statement, she was talking about the judge can't do that, right?
Yep.
She wasn't talking about the president can't do that.
No, she was saying the judge can't do that because POTUS has overall absolute authority over the executive branch, but the judge can do anything it fucking wants, right? So it is what it is. But we'll talk about it next time, bro.
That's the checks and balances system.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing is.
It
courts check the executive and check Congress.
That's right. That's right. All right, brother. We got to run. It's been a pleasure. Roddy, until next time, bro.
Catch you later.
All right, take care. All right, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed that. Rod Whitstad is a friend, but he's also a kick-ass lawyer. As you heard, he's been doing law since the Navy. He was a Navy JAG, and then afterwards in politics and obviously in private practice. But his political experience is fascinating. So if you're running for office, you might want to get a hold of him. Like you said, he's never charged any of these people, but there are obviously very high-profile races like presidential races, senatorial races, gubernatorial races. But if you're looking for a good political lawyer, Rod's your guy. Anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed the show, had a good time, learned something, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.